There's a moment almost every modern man has lived through. A moment so small, so ordinary, that it slips past without explanation, but stays with him for days. Maybe she said, "You never open up." Maybe she said, "I don't feel connected to you." Maybe she just sighed, looked away, and whispered, "I don't understand you anymore." And the man stood there, confused, not angry, not defensive, just stunned. Because in his mind, he's been trying. He's been showing up. He's been doing his best. He thought his actions spoke for him. He thought fixing things, providing solutions, staying calm, and being steady was his way of loving. But to her, it looked like distance, detachment, silence. Two people standing in the same room, wanting the same thing, closeness, yet somehow drifting in opposite directions. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when men and women understood each other instinctively because life pushed them into roles that were predictable, defined, and aligned. But today, it feels like men and women aren't just living different lives. They're living in different realities. He says something, she hears something else. She expresses something, he interprets it differently. A simple misunderstanding becomes a wound. A small distance becomes a canyon. And the strangest part? When men talk to each other, everything seems easy, straightforward, clear. But with women, it feels like every word has a hidden layer, every silence has meaning, and every conversation is a test he didn't know he was taking. Modern men aren't angry at women. They're confused. And modern women aren't cruel. They're frustrated. Somewhere along the way, the shared language between men and women broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, replaced by assumptions, expectations, and a world that changed faster than either side could adapt. And that leads us to the real question at the heart of this story. If men and women still want each other, why do they understand each other less than ever before? This is where the unraveling begins, not in blame, but in the hidden shifts that reshaped how men express, how women perceive, and why both sides feel unseen in ways they don't know how to explain. To understand why modern women don't understand men anymore, you have to look at the world men were built for and the world they actually live in now. Because they're not the same world. 50 years ago, society operated like a machine with clearly defined parts. A man's value was simple: provide, protect, endure. A woman's role was equally defined: care, connect, nurture. Two roles, two expectations, two lanes running parallel, rarely crossing. There were flaws in that system, of course, limitations, pressures, unfair standards. But there was one thing those roles provided that the modern world doesn't: clarity. A man knew what he was supposed to be. A woman knew what she was supposed to look for. Understanding each other was almost automatic because their lives were intertwined through necessity, not philosophy. But then the world shifted fast. Women gained independence, opportunities, income, autonomy. And that's a good thing. The problem is, their role expanded. Men's role disappeared. Women evolved into something new. Men were told to adapt without being shown into what. Think about it. A modern woman can be a leader, a mother, a builder, a creator, a partner, an individual, all at once. She is encouraged to find herself. A modern man, he's told what not to be. Not too dominant, not too passive, not too emotional, not too cold, not too traditional, not too modern. The world tells her, be everything. The world tells him, don't be the wrong thing. So how do you build a masculine identity in a world where every version of masculinity is criticized by someone? Men started walking on eggshells. Women started expecting emotional visibility. And suddenly both sides were reading from different instruction manuals. The old roles were gone, but no one replaced them with new ones that actually work. And here's the twist. Women believe men don't understand them because men struggle with emotions, openness, and vulnerability. Men believe women don't understand them because they feel judged, dismissed, and unnecessary. Neither side is wrong. Neither side is malicious. Both sides are reacting to the same silent revolution. The world changed, roles blurred, but expectations stayed, old and new at the same time. No wonder communication collapsed. And this collapse leads straight into the next hidden shift, the one most men feel but rarely put into words: the disappearance of traditional male value. There's a quiet truth most men feel but almost never say out loud. The world no longer needs the version of a man it spent thousands of years teaching them to be. For most of human history, a man's worth was clear. He didn't need to speak beautifully, reveal his inner world, or understand emotional subtext. He needed to work, endure, solve problems, protect others, and stay steady when life wasn't. His value was functional. His presence was practical. His role was visible. You could look at him and instantly know what he brought to the table. But then the world modernized, and almost overnight, men's traditional contributions became optional. A woman doesn't need a protector when society protects her. She doesn't need a provider when she can provide for herself. She doesn't need a man to guide a family financially, socially, or emotionally, because the world gives her tools to do it on her own. And again, this progress isn't the problem. The problem is what happens psychologically. Everything men once offered as masculine strengths now looks replaceable. Strength? Technology replaced it. Providing? Dual incomes replaced it. Leadership? Institutions replaced it. Stability? Therapists, systems, and self-help culture replaced it. A man used to be a pillar. Today, he feels like a piece of optional furniture. And modern women, often without realizing it, stopped recognizing the emotional weight behind this shift. When a man says, "I don't feel needed," she might respond with, "You're needed emotionally," but she doesn't understand that men spent generations being valued for actions, not feelings. So now he walks through life with a question sitting on his chest. If everything I was taught to be is outdated, what am I valuable for now? And that's where the misunderstanding deepens. Women assume men don't want to open up, but many men stay silent because they feel like their inner world doesn't matter unless they also bring something practical. Women think men are distant, but many men withdraw because the modern world told them their natural strengths are obsolete and no one taught them new ones. Women say men lack emotional intelligence, but no one ever taught men emotional expression the way girls were taught from childhood. Men aren't broken, they're unupdated. And women aren't blind. They're looking for emotional qualities men never had to develop before. This is the moment the gap becomes personal, emotional, and painful. Not because men and women want different things, but because their internal languages evolved in opposite directions. And that leads directly into the next part: the emotional and linguistic mismatch at the core of modern relationships. Somewhere between shifting roles and rising expectations, men and women stopped speaking the same emotional language, even when they're using the same words. It works like this: men communicate with actions, women communicate with emotions. A man shows love by doing, fixing the car, paying the bill, staying calm during chaos, being reliable. To him, this is emotional expression. It's effort, it's commitment, it's presence. But to many modern women, these things feel neutral, expected, normal. They want something else, not just support, but visibility. Not just presence, but emotional engagement. Not just solutions, but connection expressed verbally. I understand you. I feel what you feel. You matter to me. I see you. And here is the paradox. Women are asking men to express love in a way men were never trained for, while men are expressing love in a way women no longer notice. This isn't arrogance. It isn't selfishness. It's a mismatch in operating systems. A woman uses words to reach closeness. A man uses silence to avoid conflict. A woman wants to explore feelings. A man wants to solve the problem causing the feelings. A woman asks, "How do you feel?" A man tries to give the correct answer so he won't disappoint her. So she hears avoidance. He hears interrogation. She asks for depth. He offers solutions. Both walk away feeling misunderstood. And the world reinforces this gap. Women grow up in a culture of emotional vocabulary, friendships, media, conversations, education. Women talk through feelings from early childhood. Men don't. Boys learn to suppress, redirect, endure. They're taught to stay silent until they know the right answer, the right move, the right fix. So when a woman says, "Tell me what's going on inside," he genuinely doesn't know how. He isn't hiding. He's untrained. He isn't distant. He's overwhelmed by a type of communication that feels foreign, risky, and impossible to get right. Meanwhile, women become frustrated. He doesn't open up. He doesn't listen. He doesn't express anything. But he does, just not in the language she expects. Men show feelings quietly. Women search for feelings loudly. And the silence between the two grows louder every year. This emotional misalignment becomes the foundation for the next layer of misunderstanding, unmatched expectations that neither side can meet alone. By the time men and women finally confront their expectations of each other, most of the damage is already done. Not because anyone intended harm, but because both sides quietly assumed the other knew the rules. They didn't. For generations, relationships followed predictable patterns. Men provided stability. Women provided emotional support. Roles overlapped, but the script was clear. Each gender knew what the other expected, even without saying it. Today, that script has been burned and rewritten, but no one can agree on the new version. Women are told to be strong, independent, ambitious, and self-sufficient. Yet at the same time, they still desire a partner who is confident, stable, emotionally available, and capable of leadership when needed. Men are told to be sensitive, communicative, gentle, and emotionally aware, yet also bold, decisive, financially secure, and ready to take responsibility for everything. It's not that these expectations are wrong. It's that they are contradictory, and they're placed on both genders at the same time. Women feel pressure to be everything at once. The career woman, the loving partner, the emotionally intelligent communicator, the strong-willed decision-maker. When men fail to meet expectations, women feel forced to carry the emotional and logistical weight of the relationship. Men feel pressure to be everything at once too. The therapist, the protector, the financial anchor, the supportive listener, the confident leader, the emotionally present partner, all without showing weakness, hesitation, or confusion. And both sides feel the same hidden fear: I'm not enough. Women fear settling for a partner who can't match their emotional or financial investment. Men fear disappointing a partner whose expectations seem impossibly high and constantly shifting. The result? Women feel exhausted. Men feel defeated. Both feel unappreciated. Women think men have become passive, detached, underperforming. Men think women have become demanding, impossible to satisfy, overly critical. And yet the truth is painfully simple. Both are reacting to a world that changed faster than anyone could adapt. Women climbed, and are still climbing, incredible heights. But their success raised their expectations for partnership. Men watched the ground shift under their feet. But instead of updating the masculine identity, society just left them with the old version and told them to figure it out. What we now call relationship problems is really a crisis of identity for both genders. But there's another layer underneath all of this, one that men rarely talk about and women rarely see. The loneliness men don't admit and the silent resentment it creates. This is the part no one likes to talk about. Not men, not women, not even society. But it's one of the most important forces shaping modern relationships. Behind the quiet withdrawal of so many men is something deeper than frustration or confusion. It's loneliness. Not the kind you cure with a night out or new hobbies. The kind that settles into your bones when you feel like there is no space in the world where you truly matter. Social scientists call it a male intimacy recession. But most men would simply call it being alone with everything. Modern men are more isolated than ever before. Friend groups have shrunk. Male friendships have weakened. Men spend more time indoors, online, and disconnected from real community. And unlike women, who often rely on emotional networks, men typically have one emotional outlet: their romantic partner. So when relationships become strained, when expectations feel impossible, when communication breaks down, men aren't just losing a partner. They're losing the only person they feel safe opening up to. That's why heartbreak hits men later, but hits harder. It's not about losing the relationship. It's about losing the oxygen mask that kept them emotionally alive. And here's where resentment begins to form. Not because women did something wrong, but because men feel like they can't meet modern expectations, and they don't understand why. They feel judged for not being emotionally expressive, yet mocked when they show vulnerability. They feel pressured to earn more, yet criticized for focusing on work. They feel asked to lead, yet punished for being too dominant. No matter what they do, they feel like someone is disappointed. That invisible pressure builds quietly. Men don't complain. They withdraw. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to stay without feeling like a failure. This is where the resentment comes from. Not anger toward women, but anger toward themselves. A sense of inadequacy that slowly turns into numbness. And yet, women see this emotional shutdown as indifference, which makes them withdraw too, which pushes men even deeper into isolation. Two people hurting in completely different ways, interpreting each other's pain as rejection. But the story doesn't end here. There is a turning point when both sides realize the core problem isn't gender, but misunderstanding. And that brings us to the moment where everything finally becomes clear. After years of growing distance, the problem isn't a lack of love. It's a mismatch of needs. Men and women want connection, stability, and understanding, but they often approach it in radically different ways. Where men seek respect and appreciation for their efforts, women often seek emotional intimacy and vulnerability. The modern landscape complicates this. With changing gender roles, men may feel unprepared to express emotion in ways that resonate with their partners. They want to contribute, to provide, to solve problems, but expressing care through words or feelings feels foreign. Women, on the other hand, may feel frustrated by the apparent lack of communication or emotional availability, interpreting it as disinterest. They crave conversation, empathy, and reassurance, and when it's not there, it triggers doubt and frustration. This misalignment creates a silent feedback loop. Men pull back, feeling criticized or misunderstood. Women pull back, feeling ignored or unsupported. Each withdrawal deepens the gap. Over time, it can feel impossible to bridge. Social pressures amplify the tension. Media and culture paint simplified portraits of men and women, telling men to be stoic yet sensitive, assertive yet nurturing, while telling women to be understanding yet independent. Real life doesn't fit neatly into these narratives, and couples are left struggling to translate expectations into everyday interactions. Even seemingly small misunderstandings, like not calling back quickly enough or forgetting a small favor, can snowball into emotional distance. The lack of shared coping mechanisms means minor conflicts escalate faster. Yet there's hope. Understanding the gap is the first step toward healing. When both partners recognize that the problem is not the other person, but the clash of unspoken expectations and social conditioning, they can start to rebuild connection. It requires patience, empathy, and willingness to communicate differently. It means valuing effort over perfection and understanding that emotional needs may be expressed differently than anticipated. Bridging this gap is not easy, but it's essential, because without addressing the misalignment of needs, even the strongest relationships risk quietly eroding over time. And that brings us to the critical next step: how society can create conditions where men and women understand, support, and connect with each other without blame or resentment. After looking at the landscape of modern relationships, it becomes clear that this isn't about one gender being right or wrong. It isn't about blame. It's about understanding. Men and women are navigating a world that has changed faster than most of us realize. Expectations that once seemed natural now collide with a reality neither side was fully prepared for. Men feel pressure to perform, to provide, to constantly prove their worth, not just in careers but in love. Women face the conflicting demands of independence, equality, and emotional fulfillment. When these expectations meet, friction arises. Communication breaks down, small misunderstandings escalate, and intimacy often suffers. But here's the truth: these challenges are not insurmountable. Understanding begins with empathy. Recognizing that men are often retreating not out of disinterest, but out of fatigue, out of a need for respect and clarity, is key. And recognizing that women's desires for emotional connection, transparency, and security are not demands to control, but natural expressions of care, is equally vital. The solution doesn't lie in rigid gender rules or outdated scripts of how men and women should behave. It lies in honest conversation, patience, and learning to meet halfway. It's about valuing intention over perfection, presence over performance. Relationships that thrive today are built on respect, trust, and mutual understanding, qualities that transcend stereotypes and assumptions. Society also plays a role. Our culture must stop amplifying extremes, the stoic man or the unreachable woman. Instead, we need role models and narratives that show vulnerability as strength, communication as skill, and balance as achievable. Only then can both men and women feel supported, heard, and understood. Ultimately, the disconnect is not permanent. Men and women have always adapted, always found ways to connect despite social change. What's required now is awareness and action, acknowledging the pressures, understanding the silent struggles, and choosing connection over conflict. Because when understanding replaces judgment, when empathy replaces assumptions, relationships transform. Modern men and modern women can meet not as adversaries, but as partners, each learning, growing, and building a life together where respect and love are truly mutual. The future of relationships depends on this: seeing each other clearly, listening deeply, and remembering that at the core, both men and women want the same thing: connection, respect, and a love that lasts.